Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Irish Gaze podcast. How are we all doing? Big Kirby was meant to be around this week. We were going to do a little talking points episode, one of our football podcasts that we do, every month. He was going to be back. He was actually going to be back yesterday to do a video, do a podcast. But the big man got his vaccine and he's not feeling too well, so I think he's gonna let it be for a day or two, and then he'll be back around for another little bit of the football stuff. Vesti will be back shortly as well, so we'll be back to normal fairly soon. That's the update anyway. So I thought I would do something. I had obviously planned on doing something for the Talking Points episode. But I thought I would do something, we haven't done anything in a while in our nerd topic section. And it's not hard to come up with ideas to do really for it or anything, but it's kind of, as I said before, it's better when there's a few people you can bounce off a wee bit and you kind of want to save the big good topics for having the lads here and stuff like that. So I was kind of thinking of what way I could do something. I did a book review or like a series review for the Wheel of Time and put it out because I don't really want to do anything and then we can't really do it with the lads or whatever as well. So I was sort of thinking, what am I going to do if I can think of something that I can do for our nerd topic stuff, just to tide us over for the minute, because we haven't done anything on it in quite a while or whatever. So I was just sort of thinking up of ideas or whatever, and I sort of thought of series and movies and stuff that are upcoming within the next year or so that I'm kind of looking forward to personally. So I thought I'd split it. I thought this week I would do TV series that I'm kind of looking forward to coming out, and then next week I'll maybe do something on movies that are coming out that I'm kind of looking forward to. I can kind of do it by myself, and it's not really taken away from anything that me and the boys will be doing in the future. So that's what I'm going for. TV series that I'm kind of looking forward to. Just with doing this and a few bits and working on other bits and pieces, I haven't really got an awful lot of time to be watching a big pile of TVs, like long TV series this last while. I've watched a few bits and pieces, but nothing's really grabbed me. I'm kind of still watching sort of things that have been on for a while. But the only one recently that I've kind of got into is The Man in the High Castle, which I'm quite enjoying. Now I think it's finished. I think that they only did 4 seasons of it, and I think it's finished now. I think I'm halfway through about season 2 or something, and I'm quite enjoying it now. It's a sort of dystopian alternate reality where Germany and the Axis powers won the second World War. It's an interesting little one. I think there's like sort of sci-fi kind of elements in it too. It's alternate reality stuff, so there's that in it as well, which I'm kind of enjoying. But I haven't really tucked it too much recently. But these are a few ones that I thought I'm sort of looking forward to, that are coming out or that have been planned or in the works to come out shortly this year or maybe the start of next year. So TV anyway. Firstly, the Book of Boba Fett. So we haven't actually got talking about The Mandalorian yet on the podcast or whatever. But the sort of big reveal at the end of The Mandalorian is that, the big reveal during the series is that Boba Fett is back. He's still alive. And then the big reveal at the end of the Mandalorian season 2 is that he's going to have his own spin-off series with Disney. I've really, really enjoyed the work that isn't it Filoni and Favreau, I think, are the two guys behind some of the Mandalorian stuff. And I've really enjoyed the way the Mandalorian season 1 and 2 have went. We did a good review on the first season on the podcast, and season 2 was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Really built the world out, a good bit. You really get into the character and stuff, and I think they're just doing great work with it. Some nice surprise appearances in the show as well, but specifically the Book of Boba Fett. And if it's going in the same, like Boba Fett, the character in The Mandalorian, so far in season 2 has been badass. He's a massive fan favourite. Everybody, he's probably one of the most liked characters in the Star Wars universe. And I'm no different. I really like Boba Fett as well. the sort of Mandalorian history and culture and this expanded universe stuff that Star Wars are going for now is really enjoyable, and it's bringing a lot more light to Boba Fett. He's a little bit older now. He's stout. He's got new armor. It's been refurbished essentially, and the end of the series in the Mandalorian season 2, it looks like if they go the way that it looks like they're going, obviously he sort of arrives at Jabba's palace and takes out, I can't remember that guy's name, but he was in the original Star Wars series with the sort of long tentacle-y thing around his face. Takes him out. He was obviously running Jabba's place for the longest, and running the Hutt Empire essentially. And it looks like this could, I hope that it could go like a little, I know it's Disney so it probably won't be sort of darker or too dark anyway, but hopefully if they, obviously they're probably not going to sign on for one season of this, but if they go for a couple of seasons here with Boba Fett, you're going to get into the real like nitty gritty dark underworld of the Star Wars universe, and with him being the main character in it, and I think Favreau's going to be involved in it as well. I think, could be wrong, but if Favreau and them men are involved with that series is only going to do well. Like I said, he's one of the the biggest fan favorites in the Star Wars universe, and obviously Star Wars is very fantastical and everything, lightsabers, the Force, all that crack. But the stuff that sort of happened within the Mandalorian has kind of grounded it a little bit, and sort of you're getting into a little bit of the nitty gritty. I think Rogue One did that a good bit too. To be fair, you're kind of getting into that sort of more human side, even though it's whatever. But it's you're sort of getting a little bit more grounded. There's less use of the Force and stuff like that, and it's different. And Boba Fett could really get you into the dark underworld of it. Han came from that. From that part of the universe as well, smuggling and all that crack too. So this could be really, really good. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it, and especially with Boba Fett leading the show. Hopefully it goes well. Next one I have here is another sort of big one. I don't know too much about this yet, but it's something that I think was actually one of the earlier podcasts that we did. I think we did a gaming one, some of our favorite video game series a while back, and I haven't looked too much into this one, but it's happening, and it looks like it's getting more in the works, and I've sort of just put it off looking into it too much because there's been so many rumors and so many sort of false dawns with this franchise that you worry a little bit. So it looks like the Halo series is sort of moving along nicely now. It looks like it's getting towards that it actually could be a thing. The Forward Unto Dawn sort of mini-series. Like, I know that people talk about Forward Unto Dawn as a movie now, but I was, I'm old enough to remember that Forward Unto Dawn was a 15-minute episode released over 6 weeks. It was an episode show. I think it was released on like Xbox Live or something. And, you tuned in for 6 weeks. It was released for 15 minutes. It was just like a wee periodic, weekly thing. But Forward Unto Dawn was done very well, and it just gave you like a little teaser of how good a Halo maybe trilogy or whatever, like the source material's all there. I know that all the movie stuff has been, you can't really get behind a main character who's got a mask on or whatever and stuff. All them sort of barriers that put it up, how much money you'll have to spend on it and stuff like that too. But Halo's massive. And the game series has took a little bit of a downturn in recent years, but if that series comes out, we were sort of thinking like a movie would be the way to go for it or whatever, but they're going for a series now, which is, well, that's the way a lot of things are going now. There's a lot of money in TV series now, and if they do this well, a few seasons, it could be massive. There could be so much, engagement and it could make so much money that it could just be fantastic. But it has to be done right, and I'm sort of hesitant a little bit over Halo. There has been a lot of talk about it before. Everybody's seen sort of, online videos and snippets from scenes and stuff, big battles and stuff as well. They've been all over YouTube for years. And it's just so tempting because the series has been massive since like 2003, and it's just never got the proper adaptation other than the small Forward Unto Dawn series. So that's a big one. If it could, I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but it does look like it's trending in the right direction. Master Chief's a brilliant character. It was the video game series that I said is probably my favorite video game series of all time when we did the podcast episode on that. So, hopefully it doesn't sort of burn out. And there's been a lot of trouble this year with getting things recorded and where you can film at, and it's probably hiked up prices of production and stuff too, which doesn't help, especially when it's something like Halo that's going to need massive amounts of money to produce. So hopefully it just happens this time and we get a Halo series, and I would love it. And I know that a lot of people have probably switched off from the series, myself included a little bit as far as the gaming has gone, but if that comes out, we'll all tune in. Everybody that ever played Halo will tune in, and it could be massive. It could be really, really massive if it's well enough done, and I'm looking forward to it. The next one, I'm kind of a little bit hesitant, but I don't know about this one. I am looking forward to it in a way, but I'm a little bit hesitant. The Fresh Prince is getting a reboot. I think I've made my weird love for Will Smith known on the podcast. Loved all the 90s movies, loved The Fresh Prince, all good in my eyes, and The Fresh Prince is getting a reboot now. I think this was like a fan-made thing. There was like a fan-made intro or sort of revamp episode made by a fan of the series, sort of modernising it a little bit, and I think that it got to Will Smith, and then he's moving forward with it. I think it's based on the same premise, although I don't know how it's going to work. I think it's still based on him moving from Philly to Bel Air, and they're going to roll with that, and it's going to be just in the present day or something. So I'm hesitant a little bit, because sometimes when these things get rebooted after such a long time, it can be dodgy, to be fair. But I love The Fresh Prince, but the thing that I did love about The Fresh Prince too, well, other than Will Smith, was the sort of 90s, the culture around it, all the good stuff, all that there crack too, a lot of the good characters as well. I think Will Smith actually made up with one of the actresses that played Aunt Viv on the show as well recently. I think they had a bit of a falling out. So I'm hesitant, but I'm hesitant with the Halo stuff, I'm also a little bit hesitant with The Fresh Prince. I really, really hope it's done well. If it's done well, I'll love it, unashamedly. Even if other people think it's cat, I'll love it. But hopefully it just goes okay. It can be hard to sort of gain the nostalgia of something that's been dead for so long. But to be fair, I'll give Will Smith and Martin Lawrence a bit of credit, and they brought back Bad Boys, which is another one of my favorites. And they did Bad Boys for Life, which was, they kind of steered into the old man angle in it, and it kind of worked okay. It wasn't too bad. I quite enjoyed it. I was worried about it too, to be fair, but hopefully they maybe take that sort of approach or something along those lines, and maybe that it works out okay for The Fresh Prince. Next one is a little bit of a different one. I've watched a couple of seasons of this, and obviously anybody that listens to the podcast knows that we really, really enjoy the NFL here. We do plenty of content on it. It's a big one. So one of the TV shows then that is sort of born out of that or whatever has been The Last Chance U, which has been a massive hit on Netflix. And has a right few seasons now. I've watched it a wee bit. I watched a couple of the earlier seasons, and haven't watched too much since. But there's a Last Chance U basketball coming along, or is in the works. And I'm I love basketball too. Maybe just not as much as the NFL, but I do love. It's better being here. You can actually play basketball. You can't really do much with NFL other than throw a ball about for a while. But Last Chance U basketball is coming along, and I'm interested to see where this goes. Obviously, it'll probably be the same concept. A few younger athletes that have maybe went astray a little bit and are having another shot at going there. It'll be a different concept as well, because obviously with college football and stuff, you have to be there for 3 years, and the NBA is very different. I don't know if they'll base it in high school or, if it is a college. If it is a college, I haven't looked into too much, but it's in the works. So, obviously there's plenty of high school ball that happens. Maybe it'll be something along those lines. It could maybe be high school because a lot of college and stuff is one and done as far as being there and then just going straight to the NBA. So although maybe it's people that are really trying to make it or something like that. Looking forward to that as well too. I'll probably tune in for it as well to see what the crack is. Last Chance U was a massive hit. A lot of people tuned in and liked it, and if they do it with basketball as well, I think it'll be equally as good. Not the thing that I'm looking forward to most on this list, but it's just another little one that hopefully does quite well. The next two I'll not spend. Well, I'll spend a wee bit of time on them, to be fair. We did an entire series of podcasts a while back. I think it was some of the best stuff we did, to be fair. We did a 3 podcast series on the Lord of the Rings. We did episode 1 and 2 on The Hobbit. And then into the Lord of the Rings trilogy for episode 1 and 2. We split them 2 and 2. The Fellowship, The Hobbit in the first one, and then The Two Towers and Return of the King in the second one. And then in the third episode in that series, we talked about this Lord of the Ring Amazon series. If anybody hasn't listened to that podcast, maybe go back and check it out. It was episode 3 in that part. But I think it was actually some of the best stuff we did, and we really did a good bit of research and stuff. I haven't read the Silmarillion and stuff yet. I was busy with other books and that. But basically, the Lord of the Rings Amazon series is going to be based in the Second Age of Middle-earth. And there's so much, I think it's thousands of years or whatever that they can possibly go with. There's an awful lot that happens in the Second Age of Middle-earth before The Hobbit. And Lord of the Rings is one of my favourite franchises as well. So it coming along, building out this they spent, I think Tom said on the podcast, it was like $1 billion or something, or $500 million to gain the rights to it. And they've got a massive budget from Amazon. Obviously money isn't an issue there. And they've got so much, they've got so many angles they can go for here. The Second Age is long. It's got a massive world. There'll be people that appear in it that everybody knows about. Some of the elves and different things like that there. You'll see Sauron's mentor possibly. There's a lot of angles that they can go with. We do go into good depth with it in that podcast that we did a while back. So I'll not spend too much more time on it, but I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. More Lord of the Rings stuff, or of that universe. It's all good in my book. Wheel of Time then. It was the only other video that I thought about doing when I finished the series. When we've been kind of doing The Boys Haven't Been Here. So Wheel of Time I try to sell it to people on its sort of comparisons to the likes of Lord of the Rings. For people that haven't watched it, it's a little bit Lord of the Rings. It's a little bit Game of Thrones as well. And it's got an Amazon series in the works as well too. There's been talk of it being out this year, but everything's kind of been pushed back, so it could possibly be next year before it comes out. But I'm thoroughly looking forward to it as well. It's definitely one of the best series I've ever read. Now, I'm not the most well-read person in the fantasy genre, but it's definitely up there. It's right there along with Lord of the Rings for me. There's some great characters in it. As I've said before, and I think a few of us have said on the podcast, the only worry that we have is that these two will come out probably in and around the same time, and a lot of the audience will be drawn to Lord of the Rings just because they know it. And that could take away from the Wheel of Time, and maybe then funding doesn't get pumped into it as much or something like that. Them sort of possibilities. But it's a damn good show. It's in that same vein. A little bit of Lord of the Rings, a little bit of Game of Thrones, a few other elements thrown in there. And, it's a massive series, 14 books, 15 if you count the prequel. A massive world, and has so much potential as well too. There's some great characters, and it's some of the best stuff I've ever read, and seeing it being, hopefully, as I said, hopefully the only thing that doesn't happen is that it doesn't get the attention because of Lord of the Rings being out at the same time, but hopefully it's brought to screen because it would be so good. It would be so good. There's so much to get into, and I'm really looking forward to it. The next one is The Witcher. I was, I had never read The Witcher, and I didn't know. I knew the sort of concept of The Witcher, through the video game series. And I never played it, but I knew people that did. I kind of understood it vaguely, but I wanted to give it a chance watching it, because I wanted to see. Essentially, I wanted to see what way they could bring a show like that, because I knew that The Witcher was a little bit more high fantasy, and I wanted to see how they sort of worked with the Witcher character, and brought that to the TV screen with a little bit more high fantasy elements, because Lord of the Rings and everything with the movies and that, there isn't like an awful amount of just straight up magic in it. There you have Gandalf and he shoots a light out of his stick, and it does what it does or whatever. So there actually isn't, as far as the movies go, an awful amount of just straight up magic in Lord of the Rings. Whereas I wanted to watch The Witcher because of the Wheel of Time. I wanted to see like what can people do now with sort of film and stuff like that there to kind of convey the use of magic onto the screen and do it well, not like fucking Charmed or something. So I watched The Witcher and for that reason, to sort of see what the Wheel of Time could maybe possibly be, because there's heavy magic use in the Wheel of Time. So, but then I watched The Witcher, knew a little bit about the game series, as I said, and really liked it, really enjoyed it. Now, it took me a little while to work out what the fuck was going on. It's one of them shows that's, there's alternate timelines going on, and it does take you, I think there was 8 episodes, so it took me maybe 3 or 4 episodes to realise what was actually happening. A little bit like maybe Westworld back in the day. So it did take me a little while, but the character was really good. It was Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was the main actor in it. I thought he did a great job. I liked the Witcher character. It sort of, it brought me in a little bit, because now I kind of want to read the books, because apparently they're a bit darker, as well. I wanted to give them a rattle now as well. And they kind of dragged me in. Yennefer was a really cool character as well. Her sort of change and her transformation from sort of, being a little bit hunchback and stuff into like this beautiful woman and all too. And then she's a witch as well. And once it worked out like the alternate timelines, and then they all sort of converge at the end, thought it was really, really good. So I'm actually looking forward to season 2 of it now. As I said, I didn't know too much about it, just a little bit. But now that I've kind of got into the show, I'm really looking forward to The Witcher season 2. And I think it is coming out this year. Next one is one that I've been watching from the very beginning. We've talked a little bit about Cillian Murphy on the podcast, and I think I actually pitched on the podcast once that Alfie Solomons, these two characters are from the show Peaky Blinders. I think I pitched Alfie Solomons should have his own show. Tom Hardy's the actor there, and I think Alfie Solomons is one of the best characters in the show. So Peaky Blinders has started filming. I think it's a 6th, and I think Cillian Murphy confirmed that it's going to be the final season. The Peaky Blinders has been class the entire way through. They keep it short and sweet. I think it's usually only 6 episodes a season, hour-long episodes. So there's no real... Every season's like 100 miles an hour all the time. And there's no real filler or anything, so you're just kind of dropped into the middle of the action and away you go. Usually there's a new villain for Tommy Shelby and the Shelby family to take on every season, and usually by the end of the season they have that sort of threat wrapped up, sort of from more local threats in Birmingham where they set out in season 1 till more international threats as the story goes on. But I think this is really, there's the mafia get involved in one of the seasons as well, from New York. And then in this last season, they kind of created a new character, and he is sort of, it looks like the end of the last season there was sort of left on a bit of a cliffhanger. This new guy who's like the leader of the fascist party in England. It kind of works well along. It's one of my favourite shows. It kind of works well along with sort of actual real world events of the time, and then just making up its own story. And I think this character that I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, Oswald Mosley. This character was actually a real character. I think he actually did lead the fascist party in England in this time period. So he's been dropped into the Peaky Blinders show. He's incredibly dangerous, obviously. and he's ran over. He wasn't sort of rounded up and finished off at the end of the last season, but this being the last season of the show now, it's all coming to a bit of a climax, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. It's been one of my favourite shows, and sixth and final season. Last two then, and then next week I'll do movies. So last two. The next one is a series that I've been threatening to get into, but I wanted to get into a little bit of like a sci-fi book genre, and I had been wanting to get into sort of sci-fi stories and books and that there for a while too, and I decided to start with Dune. I did a book review on Dune on one of our book review episodes on the podcast, and I decided to start with Dune, and the one that I decided to leave off was the Foundation. I think it's trilogy or series by Isaac Asimov, which is apparently one of the sort of key sort of pillars of science fiction. I went with Dune. It was kind of a toss-up, and I just went with Dune. I actually went with Dune because the Dune movie was meant to come out this Christmas past, but obviously got put off, and now he's been pushed back to sort of the end of next year. So I sort of went with Dune because I was like, oh well, I would like to get reading it before the movie comes out. But now the Foundation series is getting a TV show, and it's meant to be one of the pillars, as I said, of the sort of sci-fi genre, and Isaac Asimov's meant to be incredibly creative. Apparently Star Wars and a lot of other sci-fi have drawn from Asimov as well. So, Star Wars is one of my favourite franchises. I would like to see where these sort of places, and apparently it does draw a bit from Dune as well, Star Wars and that. So I would have liked to have got into the Foundation series a good bit. But as I said, there's a TV show coming for it now too. It seems like a lot of this sort of sci-fi and fantasy genre are getting picked up for their shows now. You think of since the explosion of the likes of Game of Thrones and stuff like that there, it's really kicking off now, and a lot of these sort of style of books are being picked up for shows and that. So I'm looking forward to it a little bit too. I'm probably going to end up watching the TV show before I'll ever get to the books, but it is what it is. And then last and finally, it's not really a TV show, but Friends are having a reunion. I'm massively excited for it. Obviously people thought that it was going to be initially a sort of a new season or maybe a movie or something, and then it came out it's just going to be like maybe a few part series or something, but a discussion basically between the cast as they are now. I'm really looking forward to it. Probably a little bit. I would probably be a little bit more hesitant as I've said with a few of these other shows that are coming out, because they're trying to sort of regain past glory in that. So maybe it is best to just leave Friends as it is. It's still a good show. I don't watch it all the time. You can still catch an early episode when it's on, to be fair. It was massive in the 90s, into the 2000s. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to seeing the cast back together again and actually talking about it, and maybe doing some sort of, I don't know, apparently there's rumours of like, doing a review of episodes or talking about some of the big storylines or something. I think that'll be nice, to be fair. What I would like out of it is sort of some of the behind the scenes stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some of the behind the scenes stuff, maybe stuff that was left on the cutting room floor, some of the funny stories that happens on set, or that could all be cool, to be fair. I think I wouldn't mind that. Maybe some plot lines that they left and changed, maybe were Joey and Phoebe ever meant to get together or something like that there, maybe that was a storyline to point, something like that. I think that would be fun. I think I would enjoy some of the funny old stories that happened to them all on set and stuff like that. I think that would be good. There could be some interesting stories in that regard. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I'll tune in. I'll always tune in and give it a go. It could be nothing worth talking about, but I'll tune in and give it a go anyway. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in this next year or so. Hopefully everything comes out on time. As I said, there's a right few of them there. It's the stuff that I'm looking forward to coming out. I'm not massively into like Marvel and superheroes and stuff. It's not my, like, as I said, I've Star Wars and that. a few books and stuff like Lord of the Rings and all that. They're massively into it. Marvel and superheroes and all that. It never got me. Now I've watched all the Marvel. We did episodes on Marvel. I know plenty about it. And like, I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. Like, there's some great movies. In the first lockdown, I kind of spent a good bit of it just catching up on what the hell had happened with Marvel, and kind of got up to that final, climax. I can't even remember the name of the bloody film now. The one where everyone dies and Tony dies and stuff. All that. So it's never really my thing, and I know that there's a good bit of stuff that's coming out this year around that too. I think Loki's getting his own TV show, which could be fun. Loki's a fun character, and I do like a lot of the stuff. I do like a lot of the movies. It's just not, I'm not dying to see it. It's not really my thing. I think he's getting one. Isn't there one with the Winter Soldier and the other guy coming out as well? I think that's all coming out. So there's plenty of stuff that's probably coming out in that crack. That WandaVision's meant to be very good as well. It's just fresh out. So there's plenty of that stuff. That's not really my thing. It's not really what I'm looking forward to. So I just thought I'd give my own opinion on what I'm looking forward to see as far as TV's coming out this year. I think next week, to sort of fill that gap for a lot of our listeners that kind of tune in for that stuff and maybe tune in for only that stuff, I'd throw it out there, and I'll do movies next week. But yeah, do appreciate everybody still downloading and all that crack, as far as, we're not doing exactly what we would need to be doing right now. Hopefully it'll be back to normal soon. I think we'll be on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or whatever way that works, but we'll be on Apple, I think, within the next week or so as well. It just took us a year or whatever, but I think we're up there now too. Amazon Music, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever else you listen to your podcast, and as I said, hopefully Apple as well. If you're watching on YouTube, hopefully the sound and stuff will be better, and I had to send the laptop back, pure handling. But if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, all that crack too, and hopefully it'll not be too much longer until the boys are back and we'll get back into our regular stuff, which is great crack. But yeah, that'll do me for now anyway, folks. Thanks very much for listening. Cheers.